Hello, I'm sorry it's been a while since I've done the last part. In part, this I'm making this video because I realized people were actually watching these. All thanks because Jason Underwood commented on part 1. So here is part 3. Chapter 8. Patisserie Marie Claire. Poppy knew exactly where she was going. Patisserie Marie Claire had no lights on, but coming from the apartment above the sound of opera music. Giving a gentle knock, Poppy held her breath and waited. There was no response. Feeling her heart start to race, she knocked more loudly. She kept on knocking until a door in the back of the shop opened and a woman appeared. It was the same woman Poppy always saw serving behind the counter. She was wearing an elegant pink silk dressing gown. As the lights flickered on, Poppy could see that she didn't look too happy being disturbed. "We're closed," the woman said, unlocking the front door and folding her arms across her chest. She frowned and studied Poppy, a puzzled expression on her face. "I know, and I'm really sorry to disturb you, but I was wondering if you need any help." "It's so late," the woman said in a faded French accent. "Help me with what? Have we met before? You seem familiar to me." I don't think so," Poppy stammered, shifting about from foot to foot. Her socks had slipped down again, and she wished she had tucked in her shirt before knocking. "I just thought you might need some help with the baking." Poppy knew how she must look, with her pillowcase full of stuff. "I'm a good cook, I really am." The woman stared hard at Poppy, taking in her tear-stained face and messy hair. "Are you sure I haven't seen you somewhere before?" "Well, I walk by here quite a lot," Poppy admitted. "What's your name, child?" "Poppy." "Shouldn't you be at home doing your homework, Poppy?" the woman asked suspiciously. "You seem awfully young to be out looking for work." Poppy felt her face go warm. This wasn't going the way she hoped at all. Blinking back tears, Poppy stood up really straight. At least she was tall for her age. Maybe the woman would think she had graduated. "I'm older than I look. I used to go to Rutherford Academy. I've left now," Poppy said, sounding flustered. "Magic wasn't really my thing." The woman didn't look convinced, and Poppy took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. "I want to learn how to become a proper baker," she added with passion. "Just like you. Just like me," the woman mused, giving a small smile, but still not opening the door any wider. "Here, try one of these," Poppy said, taking a rectangular-shaped cookie from her pocket. It had crumbled on the edges and was covered in bits of fluff. The woman sniffed cautiously. "Go on, please try it," Poppy begged. "Almond butter crunch. It's my own recipe." The woman nibbled the corner and chewed. Then she took a proper bite and closed her eyes. People often did that when they tried Poppy's cooking. "This is delicious, buttery and crunchy. C'est magnifique!" "Does that mean I can stay?" Poppy said hopefully. "Just for the night?" "Do your parents know you're here?" the woman said. Poppy stared at the ground, trying to decide how to answer. She chewed on her thumbnail and finally whispered, "They didn't want me to make a career out of baking." She swallowed the lump that had risen her throat in a trembly voice. "I can't go home. I just can't. And I've got nowhere else to go." "Ah." It was a long, drawn-out "ah." The woman nodded. "I believe I understand now." "Well, you had better come in," she said kindly, stepping aside so Poppy could pass. It's not good to be wandering the streets at this hour." The woman, whose name was Marie Claire Gentil, took Poppy through to the kitchen where all the pastries and breads were made. It was spotlessly clean. An enormous dishwasher hummed softly. Marie Claire frowned. "I'm afraid my apartment is tiny, and I don't really have anywhere for you to sleep. But just for tonight I can make you a bed up in here." Poppy hoped she wasn't going to start crying again. "I would still like to stay here and help you with the baking, please." She dropped her pillowcase on the floor and her basketball rolled out. Poppy clasped her hands together. "Please, please, please let me stay," she pleaded. Marie Claire narrowed her eyes, watching Poppy closely. She didn't answer straight away. The silence grew and grew, until finally, just as Poppy couldn't bear it any longer, Mary Claire said softly, "You'll need to call your parents right now and tell them where you are." "I'll do it, I promise," Poppy said in a rush, "but I don't understand what they're like." "You have no," she whispered, chewing the end of her braid. "You have no idea." Mary Claire's voice was serious. "Maybe I don't, but it's important you let them know you are safe, Poppy." She held Poppy's gaze steadily. "Okay," Poppy nodded, understanding that she had no choice about this. "Very well then, Chérie." Mary Claire offered Poppy tissue. "Perhaps for a few days, until we sort this out, I could do with a little help in the kitchen." "Oh, thank you," Poppy said, realizing she had been holding in her breath all this time. She shivered with happiness. "I can't believe I'm actually going to be working at Patisserie Marie Claire." "But first you must call your parents," Marie Claire said, handing Poppy a slim scarlet phone. "And then I can speak with them myself." "Oh, no." Poppy shook her head, looking scared. "You can't do that. Please, not yet." Mary Claire rested a hand lightly on Poppy's shoulder, her eyes full of sympathy. "All right, Poppy," she said. "I will give you a little privacy while you talk. If you need me, I shall be in the shop." Poppy had no idea what she was going to say. The phone rang and rang, and Poppy guessed that her parents were probably still watching Magic in the Family. She knew how much they hated being disturbed during their favorite shows. When she heard her mother's loud voice announcing, "You've reached the Pendle family. Roger and Edith and our brilliant little witch. Please leave a message after the beep." Poppy whispered into the mouthpiece, "It's me. I'm okay. I'm not coming home. So please don't worry." She sniffed and pressed the off button, relieved she had kept her promise to Mary Claire. Her parents were bound to come looking for her, but she was safe at the patisserie for now. "You won't be all that comfortable," Mary Claire remarked, looking around the kitchen with her hands on her hips. "Give me a moment, though." She disappeared upstairs and returned with a camp bed and blankets. "We can set this up over here," Mary Claire said, putting the bed down in the corner of the room. "That way you'll have your own little space." "Oh, it's perfect," Poppy told her. "I'll be so warm and it smells delicious. Kitchens are always my favorite places in the world. I can't believe I'm actually going to be sleeping in one." "Like little Cinderella," Mary Claire smiled, shaking her head, "except you'll be covered in flour, not ashes. And I must warn you," she added, "I get up at 4 every morning. That's when I bake all my breads and croissants." "I don't mind," Poppy said. "Honestly, I'd love that. I really would. I'm dying to know how you make croissants, and once I've learned how to get the breads and things started, you could sleep in later." Poppy chattered, "I'll bring you tea in bed." Mary Claire laughed softly. She spread the blankets over Poppy's bed. "Try to get some rest now, Chérie. You must be tired. And tomorrow we'll be up extra early because on Wednesdays I make my wonderful chocolate butter bread." Poppy lay down on the camp bed. Even though it was narrow, she slept soundly and didn't wake up until the sound of Mary Claire's singing roused her. It was still dark outside, and Mary Claire handed her a steaming cup of milky coffee. Poppy sipped cautiously. She had never had coffee before, but this was delicious. It would make wonderful flavoring for cupcakes, she decided. "I slept really well, Mary Claire," Poppy said, getting out of bed at once. Her braids were messy and she had gone to sleep in her clothes, but Poppy couldn't stop smiling. "I am glad. You look rested." Mary Claire smoothed a hair back from Poppy's face. "And later when it is not so early, we'll need to talk, Chérie." Poppy gave a vague nod in reply. "I'll help you work this out," Mary Claire reassured her. "Everything will be fine." "I know it will be," Poppy answered softly, "because I'm here now." "Right then, first we'll work on our bread doughs," Mary Claire said, scooping the flour in an enormous bowl. "They need the longest time to rise. Now, take this chocolate and chop it up for me, please." Poppy did as she was told. Soon the kitchen was filled with the rich, yeasty smell of bread rising and baking. Mary Claire showed Poppy how to roll out croissant dough and shape it into crescents. Some were left plain, others were filled with almond paste or stuffed with custard and raisins. Poppy learned how to make a soft, buttery bread dough called brioche, which they stirred in chunks of bittersweet chocolate. "My famous chocolate butter bread," Mary Claire said, putting a tray of loaf pans into the oven. "People come from many towns all over to buy this. I only make it on Wednesdays." "If people love it so much, why not make it every day?" "Then it wouldn't be so special," Mary Claire winked. "And on Wednesdays everyone needs a treat. It's a day when sad things often happen, I have found." Poppy laughed, although she wasn't sure if Mary Claire was making a joke or not. After the chocolate butter bread had finished baking, Mary Claire cut them each a slice. "Now we taste, to make sure it is good." She motioned for Poppy to sit down. "You should never eat standing up or walking around. It is not good for the digestive system. Plus, you will never taste your food properly if you're moving about. We want to sit and concentrate." Mary Claire closed her eyes and took a bite. Poppy copied her. She could feel the warmth of the morning sun streaming through the windows. "This is perfect," Poppy sighed, chewing slowly. The bread was soft and airy. You could really taste the creamy French butter Mary Claire insisted on using. Chunks of dark chocolate melted on Poppy's tongue. When she swallowed, she knew this was one of the most delicious things she had ever eaten. "That's my dream," Poppy whispered with longing, "to cook like that and have a bakery of my own." "And I'm sure one day you will," Mary Claire replied, gently touching Poppy's arm. "But now it is time to set up the shop. Be open in 30 minutes." They filled the glass cases and window displays with trays of breads and pastries. Then Mary Claire handed Poppy a pink and white striped apron. "Put this on, chérie. We wear these when we serve." "Oh no, I couldn't!" Poppy froze behind the counter. She was staring through the window and her eyes were full of panic. People had already started to gather outside, and standing at the front of the line was nosy old Maxine from next door. "I don't want to be out here," Poppy said, and dropped her apron on the floor. She hurried back into the kitchen. Chapter 9. Caramel Cookies. Later, when Mary Claire appeared in the kitchen doorway, Poppy explained, "I'd much rather wash dishes. My math is terrible. I don't want to handle money." "Really?" Mary Claire mused, watching Poppy scrub away at the mixing bowl. Drops of brown water had sloshed onto the floor, and when Poppy put the bowl in the drying rack, streaks of chocolate still clung to it. "You'll get lonely in here all by yourself." "No, I won't," Poppy said. "I love your kitchen, and perhaps when I've washed up these pans I could start making cookies." The bell shop tingled. "I must go," Mary Claire said, turning to leave. "Someone needs serving." "So can I? Bake some cookies, that is?" "Well, I can't promise we'll sell them, but all right, go ahead," Mary Claire agreed, glancing back to give Poppy a friendly smile. As she opened the shop door she whispered under her breath, "What have I gone and done? This could be a complete disaster." But Mary Claire was still smiling as she wrapped up a loaf of chocolate butter bread and handed it over to her customer. Poppy had been thinking about caramel cookies for a long time now. How would they taste, and how she would make them? There were no recipes for caramel cookies in any of her cookbooks, so she made one up as she went along. Plenty of butter and brown sugar, a pinch of salt, and some fresh vanilla beans ground to a powder. "Whatever you're making, it smells fantastic," Mary Claire said, untying her apron and collapsing into a chair. Each day she closed the pastry for 2 hours at lunchtime. "Try one," Poppy said shyly, offering Mary Claire a cookie. "Mon Dieu, you made a lot!" Mary Claire gasped, staring at the counters. "A lot of cookies and a lot of mess." "I'm sorry, I got a little carried away, but I'll clean it all up, I promise," Poppy assured her. She was feeling nervous as she watched Mary Claire chew. The frigid woman didn't say anything for what seemed like an awfully long time. Then she gave a brisk nod. "Excellent, Poppy. Arrange some on a plate and we'll see how they sell." "Really? You can put my cookies in your shop?" Poppy spun around excitedly, knocking a bag of flour onto the floor. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'll sweep that right up," she said, reaching for a broom. "I'm so happy. I can't believe it. I'm a real cook." Mary Claire laughed. "Please let me sleep. It'll be quicker." "Are you sure? It's my mess." "Quite sure," Mary Claire said, tugging the broom out of Poppy's hand. "Why don't you take that basketball of yours out back? I put up a hoop for my son when he was younger. He used to play all the time before he left for college. It'll be nice having it used again." She smiled at Poppy. Go on, some fresh air will do you some good." Cautiously opening the kitchen door, Poppy stepped outside. She found herself in a small courtyard with a basketball hoop attached to one wall. Flowers had been planted in big wooden barrels, and purple clematis climbed freely up the back wall of the bakery. A small round table and chairs were tucked into a corner, shaded by a green umbrella. It was a lovely, tranquil place, and Okay, sorry for that. I'll get right back to it. It was a lovely, tranquil place, and Poppy played ball until Mary Claire joined her, carrying a tray of sandwiches and lemonade. They sat at the little table and ate slowly, chatting about recipes. "Perhaps now would be a good time for me to call your parents," Mary Claire said when Poppy had finished her lunch. "I do need to talk to them, Poppy." "No." Poppy shook her head vigorously. "I mean, not yet." Bottom lip started to tremble. "It's awful at home. You've no idea how horrible it is." "Do they know how you feel about things?" "I've tried to tell them, but they don't listen to me," Poppy said, staring at the table. "You should write it down," Mary Claire suggested gently. "Sometimes it is easier for parents to hear what their child is saying in a letter. It might help them understand how you're feeling. And then I could speak with them about it." Mary Claire sounded so confident and sure that Poppy suddenly felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this kind, lovely French person could convince her parents that she wasn't meant to be a witch, that magic was not her destiny. But that brief wishful thought quickly vanished. Her mother and father would never agree to such a thing. Poppy knew that. She was quiet for a long moment, and then she slowly nodded. Besides, it was Mary Claire's problem, not hers. "Okay," Poppy agreed. "I'll write to them. That couldn't hurt." But what she didn't tell Mary Claire was that she had no intention of letting her parents know where she was. They would march right down to the pasture and drag her back home. "You're doing the right thing, Poppy," Mary Claire said, leaning over to pat Poppy's hand. "And ask them to contact me straight away. Then we can sort all this out." She gave Poppy a reassuring smile. "There's a post box outside the back gate." Later on that afternoon, Poppy sat down at the big wooden table in Mary Claire's kitchen, and after chewing the end of her pencil for several minutes, she began to compose a letter to her parents explaining why she'd run away. "Dear Mum and Dad, please don't be mad at me. I am very safe and very happy. The kind lady I am staying with would like to talk to you, but before she telephones, I want to tell you why I ran away. I hope you will understand and not be cross. Ever since my first day at Rothersfield, I've been so miserable at school. I keep trying to tell you how much I hate magic, but you don't seem to hear. So let me spell it out for you. I do not want to be a witch. The other girls tease me because I'm not like them, and call me names because I love to bake all the time. That's why having Charlie as my friend is so important. I was really, really lonely until I met her, and you can't take Charlie away from me. You just can't. Every day I wake up and feel sad because I know how much you hate it when I cook. I can't even talk to you about recipes I invent because it makes you angry. So this is how I feel, Mum. When I bake a new cookie or cupcake, I get all tingly inside and want to dance and sing and jump up and down all at once. I wish you could understand and weren't always so disappointed in me. I know I am never going to be like a great Granny Mabel, although sometimes I wish that I were. Then perhaps you'd be proud of me. Love, Poppy. There's nothing in the letter that they didn't already know, but maybe, just maybe, Poppy thought wistfully, they would read it and understand. And when she had finished, Poppy folded up the pages and slid the letter into an envelope. She printed Mr. and Mrs. Pendle, 10 Pudding Lane, Potts Bottom, on the front. It was only as she was about to creep out to post it that Poppy realized her parents would see where it had been mailed from. They would know she was still in the village, and be bound to find her. Not sure what else to do, Poppy slipped the letter into her pocket. For now, she told herself. The caramel cookies were a huge success. They sold out completely. Everybody loved them, Mary Claire said as as they tidied up the shop at the end of the day. One woman told me they are the best tasting cookies she'd ever eaten. Poppy, who was mopping enthusiastically across the floor, couldn't stop smiling. "I feel so at home, Marie Claire," she breathed in deeply. "Even the smell of this bakery is comforting. It makes me feel like a baby inside, all safe and warm." "Maybe that's because you are standing right where a little girl was born," said Marie Claire. "Right here?" Poppy looked down, as if there might still be traces of the baby left on the floor. "A real baby?" "As real as they get," Marie Claire said, remembering that strange and special day. "She ate a whole bag of my almond cakes. I've often wondered what happened to her." She sighed and shook her head. "The parents never did come back to tell me." "Ah, well, it's as it's destined to be, I suppose." Poppy didn't really understand what Marie Claire meant by this, but she could tell that the Frenchwoman was lost in her thoughts. A peaceful silence settled on the shop until Poppy said softly, "It must have been wonderful for your son to grow up here." "He liked it well enough, but he has not to cook. Flying is his great love." Marie Claire gave a resigned smile. "He would help out when I needed it, of course, but there's no passion there. That's what a truly great baker must have," she said, holding both hands over her heart. "Passion!" "Habit falloda," Poppy burst out. "That was our school motto. It means to follow your passion." "And so you are, chérie. Love is what makes my bread so good, and you have that passion. You have great talent." "Do I really?" Poppy said, hardly daring to believe what Marie Claire was telling her. "Indeed you do, child." And if Poppy could have smiled any wider, her face would have split in two. "I will help your parents understand," Marie Claire continued. "Perhaps we can arrange that you can make your special caramel cookies every Wednesday after school. It'll be nice for the customers to look forward to." "Ooh, and I can make coconut cookies on Mondays," Poppy suggested, clapping her hands in enthusiasm. "Or coffee cupcakes, perhaps. I have a wonderful idea for coffee cupcakes. But how about those chocolate meltaways on Thursdays? Everyone always loves those. And raspberry jam shortbreads on Fridays?" Mary Claire shook her head and laughed. "One recipe at a time, Poppy, one recipe at a time. It all sounds quite delicious, though, chérie. I'm happy you will make the customers very happy." The next day Poppy woke at 4 o'clock to help Marie Claire get started on the bread doughs. She loved being in the kitchen at such an early hour. The heavy quiet and the dark outside. At around 5:30 she put a tray of cherry scones in the oven, and when the sun rose, Poppy and Marie Claire sat by the window, nibbling on the fresh, warm pastries. It was the perfect moment. And so the day began. Poppy was careful not to appear in the front of the shop. She couldn't risk having nosy old Maxime from next door see her and report back to her parents. It was the most important she stay hidden in the kitchen, out of sight. Chapter 10. Surprise. Late on Thursday afternoon, Marie Claire appeared in the kitchen, a puzzled look on her face. "There's a person out front wanting to see you, Poppy." "Are you sure?" Poppy said, sinking down in a chair. Her mouth felt as if it were full of cotton wool. "Maybe they meant someone else. It can't be me," she added shakily. She asked if someone called Poppy was here. Mary Claire stayed, watching Poppy very closely. Then, holding out her hand, she said in a gentle voice, "Come, chérie. There's nothing to fear. I will take you." Getting unsteadily to her feet, Poppy clasped Mary Claire's warm, flour-dusted hand and followed her out of the kitchen. It was such a relief to see Charlie's smiling face that Poppy didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She started to do both as Charlie skipped behind the counter and wrapped her friend up in an enormous hug. "I'll be upstairs if you need me," Mary Claire said softly. She gave Poppy a long, thoughtful look. "No reason why we shouldn't close a few minutes early today." And flipping over the open sign, she left the girls in peace. "Where have you been? I waited outside Wethersfield yesterday, and today you weren't there. Thought you were sick until this funny man came by my house asking all these weird questions about you. A private investigator," Charlie said, lowering her voice. "How do you know he was a private investigator?" Poppy whispered, even though they were alone in the shop. He showed me his card that had P.I. Jones on it or something like that. So what did he ask? Poppy worried, chewing the end of her braid. How long I'd known you, if I had any idea where you might have gone, that kind of thing. Charlie paused and glanced at Poppy. Then he told me to call him right away if I heard anything from you. He said your parents had hired him to find you because they didn't want anyone to know that you'd run away, and they didn't want the police getting involved just yet. Of course they don't, Poppy said sadly. That'd be far too revealing, wouldn't it? Their own daughter running away because she doesn't want to be a witch. What would Ruthersfield Academy think about that? You've really run away then? Yes, and I'm not going back, Charlie. You must promise not to tell. Poppy gripped her friend's hands. Honestly, I'll die if I have to go home. I love it here. I'm so happy. Of course I won't say anything, Charlie promised. I'm just so glad I found you. It's been miserable, Poppy. Finally I make my first real friend, and then she goes and disappears on me. How did you know where I was? Poppy asked. I moved the kitchen. Your chocolate cookies gave you away. Charlie grinned, holding up a white paper bag. One bite I knew who made them. So I asked the nice lady if you were a cook. You were the cook. Well, I'm so pleased you did, Poppy said, realizing how much she missed her friend, even though it had only been 2 days. A sudden flash of purple caught Poppy's eye, and she saw a girl in a Ruthersfield uniform walking by the shop. Poppy gasped and immediately dropped to the floor. Come on, it's not safe out here. Let's go out back. Crawling on her hands and knees, she pushed her way through the swinging door into the kitchen. You can't hide here forever, Charlie said, following behind her friend. Yes, I can, Poppy said, getting to her feet and brushing the flour off her knees. I'm never leaving Mary Claire's. Where do you sleep? Charlie asked, and Poppy pointed to the camp bed in the corner. Soft flannel covered pillows and sheets gave it a cozy feel, and our cookbooks were stacked on a little wooden shelf beside it. In the kitchen? Oh, I love it, Charlie. It's warm and it smells so good. Poppy took some butter that was softening on the counter and emptied it into the mixing bowl. The best part is I get to cook all day long. No more magic? Charlie said a little wistfully. Nope. Poppy shook her head. Never again. I threw my wand away. You did? Don't look so shocked, Charlie. You know I hated doing magic. Poppy started to giggle as she spooned powdered sugar into the bowl. Raspberry jam shortbreads, I think. As she stirred the butter and sugar together, a swirling rainbow cloud formed and rose out of the bowl. It hovered over the table for an instant before popping and setting showers of multicolored candy sprinkles. Charlie laughed. I thought you said no more magic. How do you do that? She asked, pressing a finger into the sprinkles, tasting them. Sweet. I can't help it, Poppy shrugged. It doesn't happen much, usually when I'm feeling really happy about something. She smiled at her friend. It's probably because you're here. Except, I've got to go in a minute because we're having supper with my gran, Charlie said. She lives over in Ribbleswold. But can I come back and see you tomorrow after school? Come whenever you like. Mary Claire won't mind, and I'd love it. Poppy was silent for a moment. Charlie, could you do me a favor? She said, pulling a creased envelope out of her pocket. She offered it to her friend, who took the sticky paper gingerly in her fingers, trying to avoid the streaks of frosting. What is it? It's a letter, Poppy explained, to my parents. I told Mary Claire I'd write to them. The only problem is I can't post it because if I do, they'll see it's been mailed from Potts Bottom. Then it won't take them long to find me, not for a private investigator looking. So I'm thinking you might post this from Ribbleswold if you're going. It's a bigger town than Potts Bottom. Poppy hesitated a moment. You don't have to if you don't want to, Charlie. It's just an idea. A wide gape-toothed grin spread slowly across Charlie's face. Of course I'll mail it for you, Poppy. It's a brilliant idea, and I'm sure that private investigator will have a lovely time looking for you all over Ribbleswold. Later, when Charlie had gone home, and Mary Claire was sitting in the kitchen with Poppy, sampling the raspberry jam shortbreads, she pushed an old photo album across the table. Thought you might like to look through this, Shetty. By the way, these are superb, Mary Claire said, kissing the fingertips on her left hand. Maybe a touch more vanilla, c'est pas? Yes, you're right, Poppy agreed, opening the leather cover of the photo album and breathing in the old-fashioned smell of dust and lavender water. Who's that? she said, staring at the black and white picture of a sad-looking young girl. The girl was dressed in a tartan school uniform and had a barrette perched on top of her tightly braided hair. "That's me," Marie Claire murmured, "before I ran away to Paris." "You ran away?" Poppy looked up, startled. "I was brought up in an orphanage in Bordeaux," Marie Claire explained. "My parents were both lost in a boating accident, you see. So I was put in the orphanage because there was no one else to take me. It was an awful experience. And the food?" Mary Claire wrinkled up her nose. "It was unbearable." She leaned over and lightly touched a finger to the photograph. "We were all sent to a strict school where the teachers beat us for everything, even smiling. No one listened to us or cared about our dreams." "How terrible!" "It was, Chérie, and I couldn't wait to get away, so one night when everyone was sleeping, I packed my bags and left. Hitched a ride all the way to Paris." "What did you do when you got there?" "Like you, I found a job working in a bakery. It was the smell that enticed me. I had never experienced anything like it, certainly not in the orphanage, which always stank of wet socks and boiled cabbage. The bread they used to give us was so stale and dry it scratched your mouth when you ate it, and it had no smell. But standing outside that patisserie in Paris—" Marie Claire breathed deeply, as if she could sniff the long-ago air. "The scent was intoxicating. I stood there all morning smelling fresh bread baking and feeling like I had come home." She paused for a moment, studying the photograph, and then glanced up at Poppy, thoughtfully. "When I finally gathered enough courage to go inside, the owner gave me a job washing pans. I didn't mind, though," Marie Claire remarked. "Just like you, Chérie, I got to spend all my time in the kitchen, surrounded by those wonderful scents." "That makes us sort of the same," Bobby said, smiling at Mary Claire. "Except you have parents and I didn't," Mary Claire pointed out in a quiet voice. She flipped over the page to show an elderly gentleman in a long white apron. "That's Monsieur Claude," Mary Claire said fondly. "He owned the bakery where I worked, and what a genius the man was. It was Monsieur Claude who showed me to take flour and water and turn them into something magical." Mary Claire gave a long, soulful smile. "Even today I cannot make a baguette to rival Monsieur Claude's. Warm hands and a warm heart, that's the key, he used to say." Poppy picked at a piece of dry cookie dough that was stuck to the top of the table. "I don't understand why you're showing me this," she said, not meeting Mary Claire's gaze. Perhaps Mary Claire spoke carefully. "Perhaps because I noticed a sadness in your face when you first arrived, something that reminded me of myself all those years ago. Like you said, Poppy, you're sort of the same." Poppy wished she could tell Mary Claire the truth. She was so quick to let out all the words crammed up inside her, to explain what it had been like living at a home with the shadow of great Granny Mabel always hovering overhead. To admit how much she hated magic and how awful Rothersfield was. How her parents didn't like it when she made cookie batter instead of spells, and worst of all, how they had banned her from ever seeing Charlie again. Poppy sighed, opening her mouth, but no words would come. She didn't want to tell too much. After all, Mary Claire was a grown-up, and even if she wanted to help, if she knew the truth, she might feel obligated to send Poppy back home. "Well, I won't go," Poppy whispered, biting into a raspberry jam shortbread. "I'm never leaving here," she added fiercely, speaking louder than she intended. "Poppy," Mary Claire began, but Poppy covered her ears. "I don't want to talk about me, Mary Claire. Please, not right now. Your parents know you are safe, which is good, but I need to talk to them. You did write yesterday, Chérie." "I did," Poppy said, wishing Mary Claire would stop staring at her, "but I only posted the letter today," she confessed. "Please don't be cross with me." Mary Claire didn't answer. She took just one of Poppy's hands in her own and squeezed it hard. Chapter 11. A Glimpse Through the Window. Poppy couldn't believe how perfect her life had become. Charlie spent Friday after school and most of her weekend at the bakery, skipping home only for meals. Usually when she arrived at Mary Claire's, she would find Poppy busy in the kitchen cooking. In fact, Poppy had hardly left the kitchen because she was so scared of being seen. Charlie liked to pull up a stool next to the big butcher-block table and watch as Poppy mixed and stirred, kneading bread dough or dolloping out cookie batter. They listened to the loud French music Marie Claire loved, gradually learning the words and singing along, even though they didn't know what they were singing about. It didn't matter. The girls were happy, and Mary Claire could hear them giggling away as she stood in the shop serving customers. If Poppy needed one of the rare special ingredients that Mary Claire kept on the highest shelves in the kitchen, she entertained Charlie by jumping up like a jack-in-the-box to reach them. Mary Claire did keep a stepladder handy for just such a purpose, but Mary Claire ignored it, springing 8 feet through the air and grabbing fresh vanilla beans or French chocolate off the shelves. This was fun to watch, but not always successful, and Charlie found herself showered in macaroons when Poppy accidentally knocked a box of them over as she reached for the vanilla. "Poppy," Mary Claire said gently after Charlie left on Sunday, "there's been no word yet from your parents. If we have not heard back by tomorrow evening, I must contact them myself." "Oh, please don't! Oh, please don't!" Poppy begged, staring at Mary Claire out of frightened eyes. Bending down, Mary Claire brushed a loose strand of hair out of Poppy's face. "I have to, Chérie. We'll face this together. Everything will be all right. I promise." "No, it won't. They'll make me go back to Rothersfield," Poppy said in a wobbly voice. "I don't want to leave here." "I'm sorry, Poppy, but I have no choice." Poppy saw that Mary Claire was serious. There was no avoiding this problem any longer. "Can you talk to my dad, then?" Poppy whispered. "He might understand better than my mom." "Of course." Mary Claire gave Poppy a hug. "Of course I will, Chérie. Now try not to worry any more tonight." Early the following morning, before the store opened, Poppy risked helping Mary Claire carry out loaves of walnut bread from the kitchen. As she passed through the swinging door, her arms full of warm bread, Poppy caught a glimpse of Auntie Viv walking past the passerie. At least it looked like her Auntie Viv, same orange hair and large expensive bottom, but she was gone before Poppy could be absolutely sure. What made her heart start to thump and her legs go all trembly was the way the woman had hesitated a second as she glanced through the window. It had been more than the briefest of moments, a quick turn of the head. Poppy felt uneasy as she arranged the loaves of bread on a shelf. Had it been Auntie Viv? And if so, had she seen Poppy? Was she marching over to the Pendle's house right this very instant to tell them where their daughter was hiding? Poppy groaned. "Are you all right, Chérie?" Mary Claire inquired, coming up behind her with a tray of almond croissants. Poppy had her arms wrapped tightly around her stomach and was rocking to and fro. "I feel a little bit sick," she whispered, staring at the window. "I don't feel good at all." "Go and lie down," Mary Claire suggested. "You've gone all pale." "I think I will," Poppy said. "I think I may be about to faint." She hurried back to the kitchen and collapsed on the little camp bed, fear and worry knotting her stomach into tight cramps. She knew she was going to have to face her parents at some point soon, probably talk to them tonight when Mary Claire called, but this wasn't how she wanted it to happen. Mary Claire tiptoed in and out, checking on Poppy between customers, and as the morning slipped by without any sign of her parents turning up, Poppy began to calm down. She must have been mistaken. It couldn't have been Auntie Viv at all, or if it had been Auntie Viv, she obviously hadn't seen Poppy. Still, a nagging doubt continued to trouble her, and she couldn't stop her mind from replaying the moment over and over again. It was impossible to switch her thoughts off, so Poppy did what she always did whenever she was feeling upset. She baked. Buttery coffee cupcakes soon filled the kitchen with their comforting homey scent, and by the time Charlie arrived, Poppy had almost convinced herself that she had spent most of the day worrying about nothing. "Mary Claire told me you weren't feeling too well," Charlie said, hesitating in the doorway. "Should I go so you can rest?" "No, I'm fine really. Just a headache, but it's gone now." Poppy smiled, not wanting her friend to leave. Let's do something fun, she suggested, trying to make things seem normal. We can take cupcakes outside and play basketball. Though I should probably help tidy up the shop first. I haven't been much use today. I thought you didn't like going out for lunch, Charlie said. Oh, I don't usually, but I hate Mary Claire having to do everything by herself. I'll help, Charlie offered, grabbing a broom. I don't mind sweeping. As Poppy followed Charlie out of the kitchen, she tried to ignore the sense of uneasiness that wouldn't, however much she wanted it to, quite go away. Okay, that will be it for today. Tomorrow I'll hopefully update it more often. Once again, you can put down in the comments below any book suggestions that you would like me to read. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I tried to take the French words and I tried to take words and try to make them a bit more French when Mary Claire was saying them. Yeah. As if you noticed, I said Paris instead of Paris. I said Paris instead of Paris, which is how the French say it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll continue this tomorrow. This is a lot longer than most of my videos, because I'm trying to make sure I can get this into 6 parts, so I'm going to have a lot to do. Anyway, thanks, bye.